Thank you. So hi everyone, and thanks for coming to our presentation. We're going to show you today some of the work we've done with generative AI in the doctoral education space and how if we refocus our thinking, we can make generative AI a space that can actually help us in the decolonizing work, particularly in the space of academic communication.
Yeah. Okay. Before we start, we wish to acknowledge the Wajak Noongar people as the traditional owners of the land where we are currently having this conference and presentation. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and also we acknowledge the Bunurong people where we create this presentation back in Monash University. Okay. Actually, before we start, I would like to go back a little bit about our title. So, Generative AI, Ubuntu, and Decolonisation of Academic Communication. We actually intentionally wear our leopard today to represent because we are using the Ubuntu philosophy. It's from Africa. I am because we are. So we also would like to acknowledge the co-author because this is an autoethnography. There are our friends there, basically representing the pictures. Okay, so to give you a little bit about the background of this, this is the outline of our presentation today. And who are we? We are 5 international PhD students and 1 research supervisor. That's Lynette. Okay, all of us are multilingual of English, and our country of origins are various. There are some from Vietnam, mainland China, Afghanistan, Indonesia, who myself, and then South Africa. Lynette is from South Africa. So usually research in generative AI area is focusing about pedagogical things and then the critical use of that, and we shifting a little bit the focus, talking about inclusivity and empowerment and decolonization. I hope that's interesting. And then we adapt the language that we are speaking, like Vietnamese, Mandarin, Persian, Pashto, Balinese, Bahasa Malaysia, and African. So basically, we are multilingual. Yeah. So about the research contextualization, to give you a little bit about the context about our study, I would like Lynette.
Excellent. So I'm going to talk to you about academic communication. So we have tried, all of us really, to engage in the academic publication process before, and it is fraught with complexity, let's put it that way. Academic publication is also problematic in that it privileges westernized communication. So it privileges writing in English, in a specific type of English, and it also privileges certain types of knowledge in that what is expected is the way that everyone else thinks. Now, while this is great if you are coming from one of those places and you speak beautiful academic English all the time, this does, however, marginalize people who have different ways of communicating and have different ideas. And so what we're interested in is how can we actually harness the power of generative AI to help those people who are traditionally more marginalized in communication settings to actually amplify their voices. So firstly, hopefully by now you know what Gen AI is. It is something that is capable of mimicking human creativity. Not just human intelligence, but also creativity. And it can create novel things. So that does mean that when it gives you something, it is not something that can be detected by the plagiarism detector because it is creating new things. Now, why generative AI is something that we're focusing on? Well, because generative AI, firstly, is everywhere and you can't avoid it. But secondly, it has resulted in quite a polarized discourse in academia. So basically, you get 2 camps. Using it is cheating and bad, or wow, this is the greatest thing ever invented and we should change everything, right? And we're like, well, what if there's a different opportunity? What if there's a middle ground? That's where we were really interested. Additionally, we all use generative AI in our practices already in all sorts of different ways, so it was an easy thing to explore. So we decided to think about how our generative AI experiences influence the way in which we navigate academia as students and as a lecturer. So what is particularly novel about our approach is our decolonial model that we went with. So we started by using the philosophy of Ubuntu, which, as Redi was saying, is a Southern African philosophy, very similar to many other indigenous philosophies, which privileges community and connection over individualism. And so the philosophy literally means being becoming, if you join them together, Ubuntu. And it is all about how if we work together, everyone benefits. And if one person is struggling, the whole community is struggling. So we decided to go through that lens because that refocuses academic communication discourse into, instead of like, how many publications and citations and wonderfulness can you get? So how can we all make academia better? How can we all work towards building better scholarship and more knowledge and ideas? To do this, we use collaborative autoethnography, which is a qualitative research method that uses personal experience. And in our case, this is together. So all of us reflect it individually and together to generate our data. And then we use generative AI throughout the whole process to help us articulate our ideas, creating this space where different voices are valued and equally represented in the things that we are saying. So now I'm going to hand over to Redi to give you some examples of what we found.
Okay, so here are several findings. So I categorize the first theme as generative AI supports the personalized learning and development. For example, from each time. So, for example, from Sechi's experience, he's a Chinese student. Sometimes there are a unique way of Chinese to inform about things, or the way they think, or the way they inform about certain phrase. So sometimes it's going to be weird in Western context. And therefore, Sechi used this one to help her, like, how best I can explain this terminology in the Western context, or how best they can understand the way of Chinese think about certain things. Okay, and the other one is from Sophia's Ji Hang experience. She's also a Chinese student, and she's very introverted. And by having the generative AI, she has like a private tutor that she can again and again, like iteratively discuss about very difficult study, for example, like how to understand about Bourdieu's theory. Okay. So the second theme appears is about generative AI helps socialization into academic and social spaces. Like, for example, Abdul is an Afghani. He is from Afghanistan. So he used most of the time generative AI for like doing communication with the other colleges and make a connection. And for me myself, like for example, because in a way that academic writing is sometimes is not very the westernized way of thinking, because I'm not originally from the Western country, so sometimes my way of thinking is involved in the way I speak in academia. So it's kind of hindered a chance to socialize as well, because sometimes am I saying things correctly, or it's weird in your point of view? So generative AI definitely helped me, like to in the socialization and the academia, by asking, is this a correct way of saying that in the Western perspective? Okay, and then the last one is from Maxi. He's a Vietnamese. So generative AI, the last theme is generative AI promotes social justice through democratization. For example, from his experience, we can learn that the non-native speaker. As a non-native speaker, he found it very useful and to improve his academic English. So as an international student, he can democratize his thought. Yeah. So, okay. Then the last part, challenging the orthodoxy. This is part of our discussion. I'll give it back to Lynette.
So hopefully, as you were reading some of those quotes, you will have noticed some things. Firstly, it talks about how to make writing better. Now, that's not surprising. Anyone who's used ChatGPT knows it can make your writing better. And we are not saying that that's the only benefit, though, because you would have seen some other things happening. And you will see that a lot of what it was talking about is the fact that they could authentically express their actual idea, what they wanted to get across in a way that other people could understand. Now, we realize there is some, problematizing things there in that they are still having to communicate in English, but we also realize that the two of us are not going to change academic publication any moment to write in all languages, right? But what we are saying is that we can value those native speaking, authentic voices and the way in which they understand things because it gives them access to that wider field of academia. So additionally, that means that those other epistemologies and ways of thinking become more valued because they actually get to be in the discussion. They are able to be articulated for others, and therefore others can learn from them. Suddenly you learn about Ubuntu philosophy or Vichi's interesting metaphor about the mist and the water, right, which you had not heard before because you were only reading in English. So this means that more people can contribute to academia. And as Maxi said, this helps to move the focus away from how nice and pretty can you write to what is the value of the idea you are contributing to the field. So that reshapes those power dynamics that traditionally privilege the people who can write nice and pretty academic English. And that also means that we can all work together in academia to actually focus on knowledge and improving things rather than on, wow, who has the best academic English writing style out there. So in our study, weaving together the technology with our narratives and experience and that Ubuntu philosophy helped us to create a space that was more inclusive, relational, and created a just space where everyone's voices could be valued. And therefore, we are saying that when used appropriately and reflexively, Gen AI can actually support the agency of the people to bring forth their actual viewpoints and their ways of thinking into an anglophonic space that is currently hiding and marginalizing them. Also, our decolonial praxis model is a methodological contribution that other people can use. Now, as I finish my talk, I'll leave you with my reflection here, which is from one of the many things that I wrote. In the past, people used to write academic papers by hand with pen, and then maybe one day they got a typewriter. Were there people who had these same conversations then? When they created the calculator, there was these same polarizing discourses happening. No, you can never use a calculator. Well, everyone must use a calculator, right? We're in the same space and we're having the same conversations again. Perhaps we need to change that focus. Because remember that in academia and in the world more generally, innovation and equity can actually coexist. Now you'll see my picture here. This is a picture that I generated with Leonardo AI to represent weaving of technology and the Ubuntu philosophy. So you will also see that we handed out you the little cards. It's on the front picture. If you didn't get a card at the start, they are at the back, the extra one. They are there to show you our hopeful, maybe a little bit super optimistic view of the future, where everyone can actually maybe work together and improve academia rather than trying to perpetuate this meritocracy that we are in, where everyone is just trying to supersede the next person. So as we finish and give you time for questions, we have some suggested prompts for discussion here. If this is something that you are interested in talking about, welcome to ask. There is a QR code which will take you to the shortened blog post version of this presentation that we just did. You can answer them. But if you have any other questions, comments, we are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.